Hey, welcome to Web3 Weekly with your host, Blockstar Technology.
Let's go.
Happy New Year, everyone. We are back. We are back with a vengeance. So, Happy New Year to people on Twitter, our Insta Nation, or Twitter Nation, Insta Nation, and YouTube Nation, everyone. All the nations. We are super excited to be back in 2023. So today's podcast is going to be about catching up, sort of round up, as you said, Maureen, about 2022. And also going into the exciting projects and things we are looking at doing for 2023. Right? So just 2022, where should we start? Should we start from our...
It had quite an exciting end, which kind of, I think... overshadowed a lot of the earlier stuff that went on.
Isn't it funny how that happens? Like when you get to such a high, you forget all those,
or such a low, you forget that high that you had back that little bit further.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, when we start, let's talk about NFTs.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So with the NFTs, there's like a lot of things going on. New things happening in the NFT space. The prices were new projects coming up, and the prices were up. People are flipping. Everything, like everyone thought, like, oh, this is not going to end. It was like that good, and then things changed. Right? I would say because it's I'm not call it a crash. I like to more call it like a change, right? Because it's a
correction.
It's a correction. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
It's a correction, right? And happened, and then out of that, new things came about, right? I think people start thinking innovative ways, like to make their project more valuable, right? And in the same space, we saw like major brands coming in while the markets were down, and a lot of the let's do a quick 10,000 NFTs. That's pretty much died down now, and people have gone into more like smaller numbers rather than larger numbers, right?
It's like it had a spring cleaning and got rid of a lot of the clutter that was out there.
Yeah. Exactly. So I think I have a feeling that the market got really started the cleaning process and weed out a lot of the so-called project founders that call themselves project founders but was not sticking there, just pretty much disappeared in the quiet period.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of noise. I mean, when you go to the amount of Twitter spaces that was at that time to now, and
the amount of people in each space as well.
In each space as well, yes. These numbers have changed, right? Before they had quite a few numbers in the Twitter spaces, and there were spaces like big ones in the weekends and every time. And I noticed the number of spaces gone down, and the number of people in those spaces gone down as well. But now we had a lot more what you call meaningful conversations rather than just pumping. There was spaces created just to pump NFT projects. Just shilling.
Simple shilling,
right? Yeah. And they said like, oh, we only give you like 3 minutes to come and shill your project. And so no wonder the markets were like, they were like really pushing, and again, another thing that we had someone here today talking about it and how they seen.
And Charlie said it on numerous occasions. And hi, Charlie, if you're watching.
Yes.
We miss you.
Yeah, we miss you.
Who's Charlie again?
It's like that, isn't it? Oh, good Lord.
Hey, Charlie, sorry. I'll see you tomorrow.
But this is obviously not the first time this has happened. It won't be the last. Mm-hmm. But each time you get that sort of exodus from not just the markets, but the entire ecosystem, there still tends to be more than there was at the previous dip. Mm-hmm. So you get some people come in, it'll drop off, but it'll still be higher than the previous one. So the numbers overall are still
And I feel
climbing.
like that a lot of the times is because the people that went through it the previous time now know what to expect.
That's
so I
exactly
think every time new retail people come in or new people to the space, it's always a shock to the system. Yeah. And like no matter how long you've been in the space, it's always like, damn it, because like with blockchain, crypto, NFTs, all of it, as we all know, it just happens so fast. Like one day everyone's up, they're driving their Lambo to work, you know, next week they're working at Macca's. It's just,
It'd be like, it'd be like moving to the Midwest in the US with no idea, and then all of a sudden, you know, a tornado comes through, whips everything out of the ground.
Yeah.
You'd be sitting there going, what was that?
Yes.
And all the neighbours are like, yeah, that happens. Don't worry about that. You know?
Exactly, right?
the
So
veterans.
yeah. And so if you go around there, if I ask you the question, Craig, what is your key take when it comes to the NFT space in 2022?
Ooh, NFTs specifically?
Yeah, let's do NFT and then let's go into...
Well, I think obviously, like continuing on from what you were just saying, like, and I've said this before, I would buy something, like I would buy art for art's sake, but failing that, I think you need to do some research and make sure that the project is well founded, has legs, will actually do what it's going to do. And it's not just the project usually, it's quite often the people behind the project. And I think that's a very important takeaway.
Yeah, cool. Sorry, when you say legs, you know what where my head went to? You know,
The feet?
What?
The
No,
feet? Oh,
yeah, let's
sorry.
talk about that. Yeah.
Oh,
You know
really?
what? Come on, Maureen. What's your
I
take?
don't know. I thought instantly when you said legs, we were talking about the NFT foot fetish, pixelated feet. For anyone that has that, would you call it a problem? Maybe not.
Not a problem.
Fetish problem.
It's a hobby for some.
Oh, okay. Some play sport, others collect pictures of feet. But that's an NFT project now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Pixelated
Apparently.
cartoon feet.
Yeah, apparently taking off. So people can sell anything on the internet.
If somebody wants to tell us why, that'd be great.
Well, whatever rocks your boat.
Yeah. I'd rather not hear why, to be honest with you.
All right, maybe not, but sorry.
All right. So, what is your take when it comes to NFTs in 2022?
Yeah, so I'm in agreement with Craig, and with 2022, I think we found that a lot of people are opportunistic. A lot of people pumped out NFTs because, as with a lot of things, people were still uneducated, didn't know any better. It was new. They missed the first crypto run, so they thought the NFT was the next opportunity to make millions, and they, heard a story here and there. So people were just going all in without even knowing. And so where there's people that don't do research, there's always people that are happy to feed on them or utilize it or whatever you want to, not feed on them, that was weird, but take advantage of that. And I think that both sides of those have dropped off, and with bear markets and when times are low, that's when you see the people that are really dedicated to their actual projects and stay in the space and are willing to see it through, and a lot of passion jobs. It's not for the quick buck. So I think that when things calm down, it's quiet and people can slow down and think more. And I just want to add, obviously, with that lack of full knowledge and understanding of what an NFT is, I think that a lot more understanding on things like trademark implications, all of these things that you could do with NFTs, a lot of that is cleared up now. So I think everyone got really excited, forgot that we still live in the real world and that the law exists, and that now if you are going to enter a project, you need to make sure that you're buying something because of the project, not because of the profile picture or because of the FUD, or you have to look into the utility and what the NFT really means.
Is it worth, I guess, reiterating the IP requirements? Because there's a ton of people, especially during the hype, that would just barrel in, buy an NFT that looked cool because they were under the impression, like as with some, like the Bored Ape Yacht Club, you get to do what you want, create your own merch, you can reprint it, do all that sort of stuff. But I believe that has to be specific or explicitly expressed or provided by the artist.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, it's not your IP. You only have that one.
Yeah.
You bought it, but you can't do anything like that. You can't profit.
correct.
You can't commercialize off it.
Yeah.
A lot of the times it might be a license agreement if they give you that permission.
Yeah.
But it's even using real life trademarks of other people. Just because you enter the metaverse or you create an NFT, you cannot. All these things that are already protected on the outside world, it's weird to call it that, in the real physical or intangible world is still, once transferred, still protected in NFTs, metaverse, anything.
Yeah.
So I think that there was a lot of confusion because people are so used to unregulated, wild west concepts that come with cryptos and all of that stuff. But NFTs sort of brought in a lot more different layers because it wasn't just a crypto project, it was utilizing imagery, and with imagery comes, you know, drawing on existing concepts or creating different things in a metaverse.
Yeah.
And so I think you can never really piggyback of someone else's hard work. If you want to do it, then you have to do it right. You can't just steal what is already popular and hope to make a quick buck, because you'll get sued.
Okay. Yep. So in that case, what is your take on 2022 on the NFT?
I gave my take. We're up to
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
What was my take? I think that NFTs, it was where it brought in a lot of what's the term? Not white money. Is it white money? Is that how they call it?
Stripper money.
No, that's not. That's not what I would say. What's the term for it? Legitimate money. A lot of like money came into the space through NFTs. Like different types of investors, different projects came in. It was a different type of concept to cryptos. You know, a lot of bigger brands, people are entering it, accepting that the metaverse may be the next stage of things. So I think that with that, 2022 saw the influx, and now it's seeing the leveling out as they get to know what an NFT really is.
Cool.
What about you, Kazi? What's your take of 2022?
I got a few actually.
Oh, we
You know,
knew.
I would say first of all,
A few takes, not just a few NFTs.
no.
Okay.
I would say that I would say 2022 is really good for my MetaMask, but not good for me. The MetaMask was really good. It's like flourishing, but all in all, I've seen that 2022 was really good in the sense like what Reddit did, right? Onboarding of people, like even the Trump NFT, because I think just those two projects onboarded quite a lot of people to the Web3 world without really, using crypto or anything like that into the Web3 world. I think now they took that first step. I think now it's to everyone else to like, okay, how can we educate these people and to bring to the, take them on that next journey. So for me, that's one of the big takes. Web2 seamlessly onboarding to Web3. They already had the community, and they use that community to bring them into Web3, where rather than building an NFT project and then having the community and then, it's the other way around.
My only concern with that is the 3 steps forward, 2 steps back.
Yeah.
So, fantastic that it gets those people in, because that's where they need to be. If they're getting in on one of these, massively hyped projects that's actually not going anywhere, and it's part of the noise that was out there, then yes, it gets them on board, but then they feel burnt by it. Do you know what I mean? And I think besides just onboarding, it still needs to be a positive experience.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. That's a good thing about Reddit, because they already had the community, they're already getting value, and then they did the other one, not with the whole NFT.
Not the other way around.
Not the other way around, right? I feel, and then if you look at that, only about 10 to 15% of Reddit users who got those NFTs collectibles, sorry, went and gone to OpenSea and had massive, amount they got like for those ones, but the rest of them, they don't even know how to take their, NFTs out. So even though they did a massive drop, like really only a small percentage went to the market for secondary sales. Yeah. But that's one of my takes for 2022, and so that's the mass onboarding, right? That we have never seen before. Yep. It's a big one. Not never seen before, but and then I would say the other one, I feel like the IRL, right? There's a lot more, rather than people just basing on just NFT, just digital world, because everyone was flexing online, right? Their wallets and Twitter and all that stuff. But there was like close to the end of 2022, like a lot more people now wanted to be in real world, like real life, right? And that doesn't, the meetups and also merchandise. Everyone wants to rock up. Even though we had the digital things in avatars and all those things dropped into sandbox, but people wanted real, like, merch.
Yeah, tangible stuff that I
tangible.
can hold, touch, feel.
Yes.
It's an interesting phenomena, I guess, more than anything else. Like, obviously, when moving into the metaverse or any of those spaces,
Yeah.
your avatar can look however you want your avatar to look within
Yeah.
the confines or bounds of the software. But we're seeing the reverse of that with the
Yes.
introduction of AR and the merchandise,
Yes.
where you can look as you wish
Yeah.
due to that technology.
100%.
And yeah,
Right.
it's going to be interesting.
I feel like, so I'm glad that we in such a short space we almost looking at transforming from full digital, like that decentralization into that like real world, and now people are the whole thing about decentralization and blockchain is about not being doxed, right? Everything anonymity, you can have anonymous, right? But when you look at it, people went to that level and then like, I'm by myself in the being anonymous, right? So they're still, like just like in wine sommeliers, like there are still who are extreme, believers in the decentralization.
Yeah.
But when you look at the majority of them, even though they went to the blockchain, they come out and they're like, okay, here I am. I'm the person who owns this Bored Ape, and
Do you know what I think is funny? I think that in the past 2 to 3 years, the world at large saw a real shift. So I think when, obviously we're all aware that COVID happened and it caused a lot of lockdowns. I think when we went into lockdown and people couldn't physically go and interact with others, a lot of online communities were built and people built these relationships and they got into all of these projects and initiatives and spoke online. And the moment borders reopened and everyone could go back out, there was a real eagerness to actually meet the community in real life and actually have that interaction. So it went from one extreme to the other of where people were in the metaverse and, talking and engaging and getting that social whatever in the metaverse. But then as soon as they got their freedom, they could not wait to get back out. And now more than ever, they attend those things in real life and they don't want to be behind screens. So before they were like, oh no, it's so much easier to do it. And now they're like, I don't want to miss an opportunity to interact.
I'm happy to stay here in my room behind my screen until somebody tells me that I have to stay here in my room behind my screen.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
then I want out.
And then you're like, no.
I think
exactly.
that's just human nature.
Yeah, that's it, man. So I found that as my second, right? IRL events, like really, people can't have enough. They can't get enough of these, right?
Yeah.
I saw a rise in there, and I would say the next one is we start. This really start happening like end of last year, which is the whole immersive experience, right? It was like building up, but then it ramped right up at the close to the last like Q4 of 2022, which is the the immersive experience. Like Spatial came on board, like Decentraland and all that. Like Tennis Australia did their thing in January last year with Decentraland. I think quite a few people in the crypto space got into it, but this year I feel like they have a lot more partners on board and they're really getting other communities, like cross-pollinating other communities and bringing a lot more people now, and with really good benefits, even with the collaborations that they have with the partners, have some real good utilities,
And they're only going to get bigger. I mean, we saw the start of it, pretty much the start of it last year.
Yeah, last
where
year.
the big brands were getting in as well, and I think that's going to ramp up quite
100%.
considerably this year.
Yeah.
At which
Exactly.
point those relationships will be formed.
Will be formed.
That's right. So in the quiet downturns, that's where the foundation is really built. And when everything does start to take off again, like they're just going to keep building and building and getting better. So it rewards the people that stuck around and, believed in it. And
I think that's because the brands are planning on being there for the long term.
Yeah.
They're not just there for the transact, for the quick flip or anything of that nature. So obviously now's the best time to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good thing about a lot of, so I mean, like, there are a handful of big brands like Gucci and Lacoste and, few of those, Nike, and, they really went hard. There are a small handful of brands who are really killing it out there, but everyone is like, we don't know what we don't know. I'm pretty sure they want to do it, but they don't know. And then
But it's also like the capital risk as well. Those brands have a lot of money to spend
like
on
R&D
marketing,
wise,
yeah,
yes,
to do all
invest.
that.
Yeah,
That's why
And-
they're always the first movers, because the smaller brands like you're talking
Yeah.
about, after seeing people burn and a downturn, they can't justify that risk sometimes.
Yeah.
But I think once everything starts to go back on, you'll see a lot of people, once they've seen it done and seen the benefit, they'll be.
Yeah.
But did you know that Forbes was started during the recession, like the depression, like Greatest Depression?
The Great Depression
Yeah.
back in the
Like in the whole thing when the thing happened, and that's when Forbes was started, and look at
Yeah.
where it is now. I think that's a good thing about the correction.
Yeah.
So like Forbes, who do like the rich list and
Yeah,
things of
rich
that
list.
nature.
Yeah.
Well, isn't that pretty easy to do during a depression? It's like,
it's
we
not-
got
Who's still
all
rich?
3 people on the list. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think it will be even harder to find rich people because I
That's-
don't think
yeah.
anyone wants to come out.
That's my point. You only
To
have
make themselves
you only
a
have to print
target.
3 names. You're done.
And so the third thing for me was that the whole immersive, what Nike brought in with the whole AR thing,
Yeah.
and I think it's a lot more. Even before it was like just artists doing artwork,
Yeah.
Yeah.
beginning of the year, and I think now it's more like the street culture. I think sneakers. I tell you what, last 3 months of 2022, I got into sneakers, and
Real ones or
real ones,
NFTs and
real
stuff?
ones, right?
Okay.
I love sneakers, right? I love them, but I thought I loved them, but then
now
I
you really
realized,
love them.
Really love them.
yeah, I was like lacking of love,
Yeah.
right? And it's cool, and it's another thing, like with the more places we go to, I'm like, oh my god, look at that, it's also again like it's flexing,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking like, oh my god, it's again the street culture again, like in that such a niche area, everyone thinks like, oh, it's like it's been there forever almost, right? But no outsiders really, like like an old man like myself, like didn't really find it unless you had that hobby when you're growing up and you're a skater boy and all that stuff, or a girl, right? You almost grew up in that culture, but
You missed it.
I missed it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And now I'm at this age, I'm like, oh, you know what? I really want to get into this
Yeah.
collectible thing, and it's like whatever collect. I think it's all started with the NFT. It's a collectible.
Yeah, I know somebody that had, I'd like to say, just as many shoes as Imelda Marcos.
Who's that?
Do you know? Okay, you can all Google Imelda Marcos if you really want to
Who's
know.
Meta Marcos?
She was the wife of I think it was the Filipino.
Oh, right.
But more importantly, how many shoes did you
But
have?
she had a ton of shoes. It was a big thing. Anyway,
Okay, yeah.
so I knew somebody that had a lot of shoes. These were all specifically basketball shoes.
Ah, yes.
And I mean a ridiculous amount of
Yeah.
them. I'm not sure if his collection's still quite that big, but I'm sure it's decent.
Yeah.
Hi, Josh.
I'm your father. Right.
Yes.
I mean, exactly. And you think like, oh, why do you need these shoes? But then you realize, oh, there's a lot more than it because you still want to be part of a course. And when you mentioned about project, I was going to mention to you earlier, but I held back on it. People want to get around a course, not around a project or a brand,
Yeah.
right? And that's why once I realized that I thought I knew that, but it's more now, it's concrete in my head. Like if you create a course, people are going to get behind it. If
Yeah.
it's just a brand, people are like, oh, okay, it's just a brand. I don't think
It's been a real shift, hasn't it?
massive,
Yeah.
right?
It was a little while back that we went through and I'm trying to remember if we ended up coming up with the 3 core or 4 core things that
Pillars?
Yes,
the pillars
yeah,
that
four,
we've got,
four, yeah, that's right.
And it's really just a shift between them.
Yes.
But I think the more of those pillars that you have, the more successful.
More
something
successful you become.
I think it's also we're seeing this shift in society though. Like that's the biggest thing. So many people are so much more aware of things in general. Like they're mindful of recycling. They're mindful of how they affect others. They're mindful of wastage. So I think a lot more people want to help and do something. So when there's a cause and they have an opportunity to make a difference, it's a lot different than just supporting a brand. Like obviously we still get all of that, but like especially this generation coming up,
Yes.
they're so much more, I'd say, mindful and, you know, like collaborative and wanting to utilize all of that stuff.
Yeah. No, for sure.
That's the beauty of it, and I feel like if you know, the NFT created that sort of like a subculture
Yeah.
out of Web3 and from the crypto bros into that part, into art. And for myself, I feel like I look at every single piece of art, like anything, even like drawing, you know, somewhere, I'm like, oh, stop that, oh, what is that, you know? It's just weird.
You become a lot more aware of it.
Yeah.
It's almost like when you want to buy a car and you see that car everywhere.
That's
Yeah.
exactly the same
Isn't
thing.
it?
Yeah.
And it's almost like you see like so many, and then we got into, you know, we're talking to a few people and in this, what's happening in the sort of the merch and or that area, what's happening there, and there's some cool stuff going on, and you know, and I think the more we talk to these people and the whole NFC thing, what's happening there and how can we integrate that, and do we need to integrate that in the first place, and why and how and all that stuff, and you know, going down this road, you know, you realize, oh, you know, when you have NFC chip and when you're washing your clothes, you'll be careful on what type of NFC chips you use and all that stuff, and you know, and I never thought of that stuff, like, you know, 4 months before.
Yeah.
You know, and
It's a
then
learning process.
it's a
isn't it?
whole learning process, and how you get those NFC chips into those, you know, real
Why don't
world.
you tell us what NFC chips do in
So
clothing?
the NFC chips, like the near field communication
That's
chips,
correct.
Yeah.
right? And that's what pretty much you have already built into the phones now, and that's
Yeah.
how you get your tap and go payments.
Yeah.
And what you can do is you can get those chips out, you know, you can buy those chips as individuals,
Yeah.
and then you can embed. Now, there are two types mainly. There's one that you don't need to power it,
Yeah.
and the other ones that you need to power them.
Yeah.
Other ones, just like when you get one thing close to the power unit,
makes a difference in the distance that
in
it
the
works
distance,
from. And,
that's right,
yeah.
and you power that, you know,
Yeah.
thing. So,
So like an e-tag in a car, for example, is an example of one of those, but they're powered and they can read them from the gantries as you drive under them up the
Is that like
motorway.
Yeah.
a toll thing?
The
The
toll
toll
things, yeah,
thing.
the,
Yeah.
the toll tags and stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, you can actually get them that are simply like stickers.
That's
with
right.
Stuff on there that are not powered, don't
Not
need a
powered.
battery, but
Oh,
you need
wow.
a device to read.
yeah.
them
So when
and
you
all
get
that
your phone and thing like that,
So
and
it's like
that's the one that
scanning a
powers.
barcode or
No, that's the one that powers that
Oh, yeah.
using magnetic field.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So there are two. Those are the two types, and you know, which one you select. You know, it's up to you based on your
Preference.
on your requirement.
It's going to get tricky where the material that your clothing's made out of is okay to wash and tumble dry,
Yes.
but the NFC isn't.
Correct.
You know,
You
the
know,
NFC 's
exactly.
tag.
You know, and this is what we are learning in
Yeah.
this process,
Yeah.
right?
They might say do not iron for a very specific
Oh.
reason. Yeah.
You know,
Gee.
and
See, and that's the thing. There's all these
Yeah.
considerations where, at the time, you don't think about it until you come across
Yes.
that challenge.
And it's one of those things, but like I said, the clothing itself might be perfectly fine.
Yeah.
It'll still fit you,
yeah,
but it won't work.
yes,
Yeah.
And that's an odd thing.
yeah,
I think the cool thing is with all of this, even blockchain, crypto, NFTs, it's still very much in its infancy. Even despite how far it's come, we're still in the experimental phase. So it's all trial and error. Like what's going to work, what's not going to work. How much further can we push this? Like,
Yeah.
and I think, like you said, with the clothing, the idea is there, and now it's like, all right, now how do we actually make this work in every scenario?
yeah, 100%. So that's pretty much what those are my key takeaways from 2022. So heading to 2023.
Yep.
All right, Craig, what do you think?
Well,
what do you like to see?
No,
Forget
I-
about what do you like to see?
no. What I think we'll see
Yeah.
is actually, we just touched on a lot of it then. So we spoke about the big brands coming in.
But before we go, sorry.
Yeah.
So I keep that thought.
Yeah.
What about the meetups?
What?
That's a big take for us. Like
Oh
last
yeah,
year,
I
meetup. We
was
started
definitely
the
going to bring that
meetups.
up. I thought we were still in NFTs.
No.
But yes, a big take
Yeah.
from, and I think this is like a pretty cool flex because we were all really excited, and when we made the decision to do meetups and like build our community and an outside Web3 community in the Gold Coast, because there wasn't really a strong and prominent one, we all jumped on board and we all got really excited and we pushed it and we made really, what's the word? Very ambitious targets. Like every time we're going to double it, and if we can hit 30 in our first one, and maybe we'll go to 60 the next time or 50, and we just kept blowing it out of the water. And I think, like you said, the IRL thing was huge because we didn't realize how many people, whether they knew anything about crypto, blockchain, NFTs, wanted to learn and they wanted to meet like-minded people, and they, it created a really cool community and a bunch of cool friends, and I just love it. And it was a thing where the support went both ways. Like we'd have events, they'd all come and support us. If they were having events, they'd invite us, we'd go support them, and it was just really nice to see.
And this, I've learnt so much from those other events as well.
Yeah.
Like being exposed to different industries and things of that nature. It's absolutely beneficial.
And that's a big takeaway. I think we learned a lot by holding our own meetups, and plus being part of other groups as well, attending other meetups. So that's a huge takeaway as well.
And it was a really
No, you're right.
it was a really humbling experience to see so many people support us and give us the opportunity to support them in return. Like it was just so touching because I think you saw a lot of people held you so close, and really it meant a lot. And when we would go to their events, seeing their faces light up, that was so cool. Like just to see we have built our own community. What were you going to say?
No, well, one, I think we should a big thank you to anybody that did invite us along to their events, because absolutely loved it.
100%.
With going to those events actually helps feed a little hobby of mine. Unlike your typical,
here we go.
Unlike your typical crypto bro.
Yes.
That so big hi to Jarvis. So, Charlie will know who we're talking about there. And go talking crypto. I'm not necessarily like that with blockchain or anything like that at all. But pretty much anywhere I go, I'll see whether it's a retail business, a storage company, it could be anything. And I'm always thinking how could improve their systems or platform or business, or if there's even a use case full stop for blockchain and where it could possibly go in the future. And that's why I like being exposed to all of those other industries and people from, in those events.
I guess because then you get to learn their processes, their businesses, and because they don't know the blockchain, right? They don't talk about their business, their challenges, and we can ask the questions, and that only makes us smarter, and that way we can provide a lot more value to anyone, really. So anyone wants to have a chat.
Yeah, and it's fun for us because it's almost like a little challenge. Like we get the opportunity to apply our knowledge. Like, okay, what can we do? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we do that all the time. So it's a good little,
it is.
Fun
It's
little
good fun.
Speaking of the meetups, guys, we're actually resuming in February, first Tuesday of the month. So make sure you come along. We're really excited to get the numbers back up, see everyone after the holidays, say hi, reconnect.
Happy New Year.
Yeah.
And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
And Merry Christmas. I mean, so this time the meetup's going to be a little bit different. This meetup going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a lot more exciting. And it's a different type of a meetup, this one, and more information will be released soon. I don't think even you guys.
No, I was about to say. I love to hear about these surprises at the same time everyone else hears.
But the information will be released soon and will be sent out to everyone, and it's pretty cool stuff we are doing. And it's mainly to bring value, right? Now we have done 4 meetups, right? And we learned quite a lot from those meetups, right? So with those meetups, we seen a few people we brought in. We invited new people to join the meetup as well. And now we had to look at how can we iterate, how can we make it better, and that's the way we're going to improve as a team, as a group of enthusiasts. That's how we're going to enthusiasts, right? And it's important. So pretty much that's wrap for 2022. 2023.
Right, 2023.
Yes.
I think that we're going to see a combination of a lot of the things that we spoke about. So the brands coming into the space, the fact that, the whole metaverse thing, but people don't necessarily want to be, locked in their room behind a screen. You even touched on the fact that they wanted to meet up in IRL and things of that nature, which is why I think AR is going to be a very big thing, especially when those fashion brands and things like that get a little more involved. And along with that, there's been, I'm actually still waiting because I haven't seen anything that really sparked my interest yet.
Yeah.
But I know there's a lot of companies out there working on, like new glasses, like
Yes.
the old Google Glass, but newer versions of that. Some of those are a little still bulky, but I think you'll see some stuff released this year. And that's going to be the big thing. I think AR, along with, your NFTs from the blockchain, your brands and fashion and things like that are going to be a very big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not just fashion, you can use it for any products. I mean, if you've got that AR, rather than have to scan that QR code with your phone to see where that particular product was made, was it ethically sourced, was it stored correctly, does it have any ingredients in it that you could possibly be allergic to, you're just going to know.
And I was thinking like this, right? Now, if a product has, or if a product or a location or some specific thing, right? It has, say, 5 NFC chips, 5 different NFC chips, right? And you have an app, and based on your NFT, if you're a VIP, when you scan, it reads a VIP NFT. If you are a normal user, it reads when you put it, and it reads. I don't know whether that's impossible.
Which it's reading what?
So if you have 5, let's say for example, you got like product, right? It's like, this is like, let's go to a sneaker, like this special sneaker, right? You have like maybe 5 NFC chips in there, right? So this product that you walk in, you're walking to real life, right? They have this thing, and you can order it, or you can, it's like a, say, NFT meetup, and you have all these products, right? And I have a NFT, you have NFT, and more, and you got an NFT, right? And there are different levels. And when you go and,
so
when you
differentiate between them.
Differentiate
Which
between
is
them.
called gold, silver, bronze.
Yes, gold, silver, bronze, right? And then when I go close to the thing, and it recognizes, I'm holding this NFT, like the bronze NFT, so then I will get only the NFC based on that.
So in which way are you looking at, like, it providing you information, or are you purchasing it, or is it...
It could be purchasing, it could be the benefits.
Or is it Nathan's sneaker, for example?
Yeah.
And then depending on what type that...
NFT, that it could be like...
I think it's saying like to have the ability to have all people of different levels according to what NFT they have, to scan it and it showed different information depending on what...
Depending on the different levels or...
But that could be probably accomplished with just the one NFC chip. I don't think you'd need the 5 of them.
Could be, yeah.
And
just to mix it up, a Russian
be,
roulette of NFC chips.
It could be, but even with just the one, and then obviously depending on which NFT
you have,
that
could...
what data you get. So that's the identifiable object in the NFC, and then the NFT.
Yeah, and that would be cool. I mean, like, I think until we try these new things and test it and see how that works. And I know I read an article about Apple coming up with their headset this year as well. They're like about $2,500 to $3,000 US. I don't know how bulky or what's going to be like, but they said they're going to release it. They're going to reveal it this year.
I think the headsets are great for the metaverse and those type of things. But as we said, there's a lot of it will come into VR. Like, people won't.
Sorry, not VR, AR.
Sorry, AR.
Yeah.
So because they're not going to want to just be in that one space. They want
they also
to bring that into the
I saw like there's a specs like it's a bit bulky, not as sleek as Google Glass, but a bit bulky. But it's a glass, and that's a full AR experience. And I think we're going to see a lot more. I think as the technology improves, the hardware improves, and you can just cram all that in, and that will be the beauty of it, But yeah, so cool. Sorry to hijack your.
No. But that's what I think we're going to see.
So you're going to see like more interaction between like more immersive technology in 2023.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think it'll be driven by the brands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think of SHIB? Are you going to go to the dollar in 2023?
I don't think in 2023.
Not 2023. This is not financial advice.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
No. I'll be happy if it rallies a little bit. It only needs to rally back to what I paid for it. And we're all good. So,
Gee, it's going to rally for a while.
Yeah, it's going to for a while. Alrighty. What about you, Maureen?
What about me? What is the
The
exact question?
2023, right?
Alright.
What would you like to see in 2023?
All right, what I would like to see and what I think are going to see are probably going to eventually lead to the same thing. I think that the beginning of 2023, potentially looking at the global market and a lot of the stuff with inflation and interest rates, the beginning of 2023 might see a bit of struggle and a bit of financial strain. But I also think that at those times, especially recession, struggle, when people are at their lowest, they become their most resourceful. And I think that we're going to see a lot of really creative use cases and people coming up with really creative ideas to try, and a lot of really strong communities being built out of the ashes.
so
That's just
innovation.
Yeah, I think so, because I think when people have their back against the wall, that's when they have, some of those biggest life-changing decisions. And I reckon we're going to see a couple of really creative, innovative ideas in the second half, if not, in the beginning half. And I think it will come from, maybe on the backhand of some lesser, better times, like not as good times, I guess.
Yeah.
Or English. English is my second language, so that's why I ruined that line. Lesser times. But you know what I mean? So I think from struggle comes a lot of change and a lot of new ways of thinking, a lot of resourcefulness, a lot of creativity, and a lot of community. So that's my thoughts on it.
Okay.
And yourself?
Myself, I think there'll be a lot more real investors will come in, right? And these investors, because now they know they are not there for a quick buck. I think there'll be some real investors who really want to see innovation, right? And they're going to start thinking, okay, look, because there are good, educated investors, whether they are angel investors or VCs, venture capitalists, or whoever it is, right? Whoever they are, I see they will be coming in knowing that, okay, we are not expecting probably to see our money for the next, 3 years or whatever, maybe next 5 years. I think there'll be more educated investors will come in and really invest in good people than projects.
Yeah.
Because
So like
there are no
long-term.
projects.
Yeah.
Yes, long term, and look at people, okay, who can we get behind to really build this in long term? I think there'll be a lot more mentorship will go because this money is not dumb money in a sense that I see the challenge for a lot of pre-investors who invested in these projects were came from the current space, right? Came from the crypto space.
Yeah.
So they made a lot of their money from crypto going 10x or 100x or 1000x or 10,000x, right? It was so easy. There was no business plan per se. It's like, you're just taking a lottery and then I want this money.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to just do these things.
Yeah.
Right? When you say like educated investors, they have gone through the process, they have a plan, and there's a lot more to it. They built their wealth over a long time period.
And I think, just to build on that, they're also outside of the
Outside of
Web3
the
space and
yes.
entering, so they have experience,
Yes.
and they're bringing that in, whereas
Yeah.
some people just got lucky,
Yes.
and suddenly, because they made money, and it was a lot of times just right place, right time, think that now that makes them some sort of expert, when it didn't. I think we've come across a few of them. But
And I think, look, that's what's going to happen. And I feel like that will be good for the investors because they're not coming for the technology, they are coming for something else. They're thinking, okay, look, there's a maybe technology, but I think there'll be more than technology. They'll be looking at the business case, the use case. Okay, are you really solving a problem or a challenge? I don't call it a problem, but a challenge that exists.
Yeah.
Or I try to create something and then try to solve it yourself. People doesn't need it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think those investors will ask good questions from the creators or the founders, and that will make them, you know what, we might not want to do that, because actually digging deeper, there is no issue. You can still do it without having the blockchain. I think those discussions will be a lot more prominent,
Yeah.
will take front of mind than anything else. And I think from hearing what's happening outside and reading, and what I realize is probably we got about another year and a half of this current state, probably to get a little bit worse. And then I'm more looking forward. I think probably I'm looking forward every single day. But I think as a industry, I think it's maybe 2025-ish. That's where I'm looking at. But yeah, my focus is on, don't look at the numbers, but let's look at how we can move the industry forward, the ecosystem forward, not look at the numbers now.
And on that, I reckon the year of 2023 is actually going to bring a lot of collaboration and like a lot more strategic partnerships, people realizing that they have a skill, you have a skill, or they have a knowledge base, and people deciding finally, wow, we could work together and build something great.
Yeah.
Like it's going to be the application of all sorts of different expertises, different knowledge bases, and then the application of technology to advance those areas.
Yeah.
Actually, that's a good point. Sorry,
Yeah.
Craig, you were going to say something. I think with the collaboration, we just made the collaboration,
Yeah,
100%
yeah.
ChatGPT,
Hey, get out of it.
right? So we don't see ChatGPT being a part of the relationship. I mean, I like ChatGPT. It gives me a lot of answers. Like my wife asked me, like, what do you want to eat tonight? I said, ChatGPT. What do I say? He's joking, but
Next week, please do tune in. You will see ChatGPT sitting in my seat. Yes.
We'll be interviewing
I'll
it next
be
week on the
replaced.
big screen.
no one can replace you. Maybe me.
I think the other thing to remember too for the next couple of years, it's already started, but is the increasing regulations that are going to be put around crypto, which is good because it legitimizes it.
Yeah, it legitimizes. I mean, like, one of the things that we can see the CBDC. I think we had to bring in a lot more people into that discussion because CBDC. But look, even though we say that, humans love convenience over anything else, right? So like, you know what? You can pay for this in like this, da da da. Like, I mean, like that's the whole thing about IoT.
And provided that's protected, like some
Yeah, but
consumer
you know what?
protections need to be in there.
But unfortunately, people
don't
think
really-
convenience
Convenience.
over security
Yeah.
and
Right.
privacy. Like they don't even think like that. Well, if it makes my life easier. Just like Kozi's saying.
And I have a feeling because I know a couple of people who they just put IoT devices throughout the whole house.
Yes, without even thinking, where does it
thinking of
go?
security, right? And Alexa and all those, like, collecting data constantly, listen to everything, right? So, but guess what? They use Alexa so that it's easier for them to play a music track.
Yeah. For the one song out of 24 hours after Alexa has listened to your entire life's
Conversation.
problems, knows exactly what's going on in the family. If you want to listen to that song, it's there.
Yeah, actually, Alexa does a lot more than that. So I think a lot more people will go over convenience. Like, that's like a lot easier. I can talk rather than pressing the button to open the garage door.
But Kazi, I also think that a lot of that comes from lack of education and understanding. A lot of people, if they knew better, they would do better. So people sometimes are oblivious. You don't know what you don't know. So if you've never actually been told what the risks or what your security or breaches are or how easy they are to hack or what the fact that they are collecting all of this information and sending it away to be analyzed, a lot more people would be a lot more conscious about having these things if they knew. The thing is, a lot of people on an IoT, you don't get the opportunity, not that anyone reads them, but to read the privacy policy, to read the secondary use of your data. So I think that would come as a shock to people, and they would think twice about whether or not that convenience is worth that significant breach sometimes of their privacy. When your TV can take photos of you and record you.
Record you, that's a
Like,
different thing.
that's kind of
That's
scary.
creepy. That's creepier than those fake NFTs, I think.
That's way creepier. And if you knew how easy they are to hack, imagine someone sitting in their living room watching you in your living room.
Yeah.
Food for thought.
That's it.
There's a TV show about that.
Is it Big Brother? Yeah, I don't know. So the other thing as we just touched base on that is the AI. I was going to head to AI. AI will be a huge thing this year. The reason I'm saying is that it will be a big thing this year. It's not AI just all of a sudden just popped out. I think it's accessible by not technical people, non-technical people who are creatives.
You're going to see some interesting use cases.
Interesting use cases now come out, because before it was only you had to train your own models. And like when we did our vision projects, computer vision projects, we had to create those models, and then we had to train them and do all that, right? But now you don't need to do that. You can get, pretty much all these different platforms were created for different things, whether to write articles from ChatGPT to Jasper AI to like Lensa AI for that thing, and then you got the Midjourney for thing, DALL-E, and all those platforms were created from OpenAI, and I think we're going to see a lot more cooler implementations. I think people had to go through, and I mean, like when the iPhone was invented, right? The first app came up was a beer app, like beer drinking app. It just makes it look like you're drinking beer on the full screen was, right? It looks like a glass, right? And from there, now where we are, we are in this place, right? So I think, and that's what ChatGPT does. It just start creating Twitter threads, right? Or blogs, or video scripts and all sorts of stuff. And I think people are going to use those low value things, but we're going to look back and that's like low value. But at this time, for people to open their minds, they have to go through this and trial and test it on these easy things that they can understand before they can see like, now I see where can I really use this.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, as you said, it's been exposed to the masses and there's a lot of creativity in there now. But you're also going to see a lot more interaction and collaboration between the different types. So now I can just, effectively pick up a device, and rather than type, I can tell it something, it'll transcribe that. But not only that, it's actioning what I'm saying.
Yes.
Which gets a little scarier down the road. So rather than just, repeating or printing what I've said, I'm telling it to go and create an image, so it's transcribing what I'm saying, telling it to go and create an image in a particular thing, or produce music, or whatever else it's plugged into to do.
Yeah.
And that's all well and good if it's used as a tool, but when you get to the stage, and I don't think it'll be too far off, where the AI itself is able to action things, is when we need to be careful.
Yes, I think that's where the general AI come into play, right? GAI comes into place. I think we are still a little bit further away from it.
I think when that happens, you are going to miss the days where the robot was able to provide you with cat pictures.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Back in the good old days.
Back in the good old days, right? But it's funny, like I was talking to someone, a couple of people, right? The first person I was talking to, they were in their 80s. And so this was about 4 or 5 days ago, something like that. And they said, like, the day the typewriter was invented, the worst they were, because it stopped people from writing letters, and it stopped creativity, right? And he said, like, I am just getting to learn how to send an email, and now they had this thing called blockchain and AI, and I don't know what that means. It got worse the day that typewriter was invented, right? And I'm like, not really. I think they got worse the day that the printing press, or maybe no, it's before that, the day that you start.
On that note, if you look at the revolution of technology in the last, I think,
20 years maybe.
No, less than that. The last 5 or 10 years has gone exponentially, and we have advanced in technology more in the last 5 years than we have in the history of, like, so when you put it into that perspective, that's actually scary. They say now, and there's all these studies that's been done, like the general study is, if you are in a coma, how long would you have to remain in a coma for you to wake up and not recognize the work that technology has advanced so
That's
far
a good point.
that you would wake up and not recognize Earth anymore? And now they reckon it's about what, 8 years?
To say, somewhere
8
between 5 and
years.
10,
If you were in 5 to 8, and that's going to go. So people, that's why, like, it's really weird to consider that from other people's perspective. Like, I watched a documentary, and I digress a little bit, I'm sorry, but of this guy that went to jail for 10 years or whatever. And when he came out, he really struggled to reintegrate to society because he didn't know how to use an iPhone. And it was like so overwhelming for him because he was away in that little time period. And it's really interesting to see from that perspective that if you're not actively staying on top of technology as it's released, as it advances, it's so easy to quickly blink and you fall in behind, and then you're in that state where like I'm learning how to text.
Yeah.
The other thing to consider too, though, is that obviously now you don't need to know how to spell the spell checkers. There's predictive text.
You don't need to know how to drive.
Pretty much. You don't need to remember directions to places because it'll tell you what to do.
What about the phone numbers?
Nobody remembers numbers. So I guess my point in that is, yes, these are great tools that free up people's time. Use the time wisely.
Yes. But then again, like the time, someone told me, not someone told me, but I heard something in a video, I can't remember. They thought like the day that we invented email would make people like free up of everything. Right? And then look, now you can get an email even you're having dinner, you get an email. You about to go to sleep and you get an email. So now people can reach you anytime, anywhere.
You're always connected.
You're always connected.
The difference with that though is that, okay, if email was to go away and stop working right now, you could still function and survive. But I think it's getting to the stage where there's a lot of people, like if that device, that absolute reliance on the technology, you know what I mean? And that's all well and good. If it's saving all your time so that you can spend more of it, like you don't need to know how to spell or where to drive to or anything of that nature, or you can just order your food so you don't have to go shopping, great. And if you're spending your time to go and cure cancer or solve, world hunger or something of that nature, all well and good. But when that stops,
I agree.
That's going to be,
Like, what if there was a mass power outage and something, and everyone had to learn from scratch? If you didn't know that already, and this is not just a tool, but a complete reliance, a dependency.
And it's not just those things; it's all the stuff that people look up on them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, oh my
God, the information. Like, how do I cook this?
The tap's leaking. How do I change a washer in it? I'll just do a YouTube video for that. So there's a lot of skills that are being lost. I mean, I know that there's a lot that are coming, but there's a lot of skills that are being
lost. It's daunting, hey. This topic always gives me anxiety.
Well, you know what? The good thing is we don't have to worry about it for 2023. Right?
Okay. Says the guy that uses ChatGPT every day for anything.
To decide what to have for lunch.
What do I have for lunch?
What do you think I feel like now?
I think it's cool. So, guys, thank you so much. I think we've just gone over. Oh, no, we're not. Yeah, on the dot. How good is that? That's perfect. So, guys, thank you so much for being part of today's podcast. So, it's more like a getting into the podcast for catch up on 2022 and getting into 2023. As a company at Blockstars, we got some great activities and few projects, few products planned as well, and we got some some new exciting things are happening in 2023. It's going to be one of the biggest years ever, and every year it's been like that. But I think 2023 is going to be fantastic in a sense that there'll be a lot more help will be given to the community. From us, and we want to see the community, rise. The more people that get involved, that's how all of us going to win in this space, not by one, but by the numbers. And that's what we'll be focusing on this year. So, guys, thank you so much again, and Happy New Year, and welcome to 2023. On that note, see you later, Insta Nation and Twitter Nation. See you next week. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Same time, same place.
Subscribe.